Hello, fellow Star Wars fans. My name is Starrapter. Welcome to the channel. This is my spoiler-free review for Star Wars: The Battle of Jedha, a brand new audio drama taking place in the High Republic Phase 2, written by George Mann, performed by a full cast of actors. So this is a flashpoint in the High Republic Phase 2, and if you aren't clear, Phase 2 of the High Republic is a prequel to Phase 1, so it's about 150 years before the events of Light of Jedi, and in the overall Star Wars timeline, about 350 years before the events of the Phantom Menace. So that being said and out of the way, this is a flashpoint of sorts. All these different characters from Phase 2 so far, characters like Creighton's son, characters like Solandra Sho, characters like Keth, characters like Marta Rowe, all these characters are coming together toward Jedha. So what's happening there is we have this festival of balance, which is all these Force sects are coming together on Jedha, celebrating their, kind of their differences of their beliefs of the Force, but nonetheless trying to celebrate. But then we also have this big peace treaty that's being signed between the warring planets of the last 5 years, Eiram and E'ronoh. That's a neutral territory. The dignitaries from each planet are coming together and trying to make peace. And well, that doesn't end up so good. Without giving it away, as the title suggests, there is a battle that takes place on Jedha, so not everything goes according to plan. So there we go. Let's talk about the positives. So first off, production quality is, I think, at its best for any of these audio dramas so far. We've gotten a Dr. Aphra audio drama. We've gotten Dooku Jedi Lost. We've gotten Lorna D for also the High Republic. But this one is fantastic. Things that stood out to me are the music, such as when they go to the Church of the Force, Keth's place of employment on Jedha. We hear like this kind of monastic kind of chanting going, Gregorian sort of chants going on in the background. So really cool attention to music there. Even in the Enlightenment Bar, we're hearing different things in the background. Just sound effects in general. You're hearing your whizzes of the lightsaber, your blasts of the blaster, and explosions and things like that. So really great production quality as a different medium of storytelling. Also, what really stood out to me is the overall acting. I think the actors did a great job of really enhancing, again, this medium, right? So we have this one little girl of the Path of the Open Hand, Natty. She's ashamed for talking to a Jedi and giving a Jedi flowers. And we know the Path of the Open Hand is completely opposite of what the Jedi are standing for. So we get to actually get into that emotional weight of what's going on with that small character there. But also there's some death scenes in here, and they are a lot more impactful when we're actually hearing the actors sobbing through their lines. The dialogue is fantastic. There's no narration in this. Remember, this is just a straight up audio drama. It's not going to say like Creighton's son said this, right? It's just characters talking as if we're observing them. So that's a really cool difference between an audio drama and an audio book. I will say I really enjoy the characters. As I mentioned, I listed off a bunch of names in the beginning of this review. We got Creighton's son, we got Solandra Sho, we got Marta Rowe, we got the mother, we have Keth from the Insider Short Stories. I got to give a shout out to George Mann for bringing in such an obscure small character and giving him such a big pedestal to really shine. We haven't gotten that in Phase 1, but Phase 2, we're definitely hitting on all the different cylinders of all the different things that make up Phase 2, which is really cool. But a standout character for me out of all these characters is P3, a church protocol droid, which is actually a droid that was created as mass match of parts from Bon Brax, which were featured in Phase 1 there, brought to us by Daniel Jose Older. But yeah, so a lot of cool stuff there. I will say this wasn't my favorite Star Wars production or piece of material over the last couple of years, because I will go over my cons. First off, I just can't seem to connect with these characters. And I don't know if it's just the overall tone of Phase 2. I don't know if it's a story specifically, but nobody really stood out to me like characters like Avar Kriss or Bel Zettifar, or, characters like Afi Hala. Like these really awesome characters, Lorna D from Phase 1 are just standouts. Porter Engle, which we'll be getting a comic. We have gotten one issue, but we're not getting really awesome standout Jedi characters, standout Republic characters. As I mentioned, it's saying a lot when I say my favorite character is a protocol droid, right? I mean, those usually don't have too much personality, but just their overall air just seems a little bit off to me. I feel like while it's nice that we have these reminders through this audio drama of, 48 hours to the Battle of Jedha, 24 hours to the Battle of Jedha. When the Battle of Jedha only takes place for about an hour and a half or so over a almost 6 hour long audio drama, I do think that's a little bit too much setup. And I understand, like, up until this point, we haven't had any connection between Path of the Sea. We haven't had really any connection between Quest of the Hidden City or between the High Republic comics or between Convergence or anything like that. Like, there's been very separate, and that's been a detriment, I believe, to this phase so far, whereas phase 1 started off, everything was immediately connected with Light of the Jedi. So we're getting so much backstory and not a lot of action, which really kills the pace for me. As people have said, you know, phase 2 is going to be a nice jumping on point for the High Republic, and I kind of disagree right now. If I was a new reader and I was jumping into this, I would think that there's just not a lot of direction overall, and it maybe would kind of detract my feeling from the overall phase. But again, we're talking about the audio drama specifically, so I don't want to get too much off base here. But another thing is we're basing this so much on religion, right? I mean, that's to be fair, it's Jedha. But again, the promise of this phase was to be based on the frontier, based on exploration, going out and with the Republic and finding new planets to bring into Republic. And so far, the only thing that's really done that is Quest of the Hidden City, which, funnily enough, is my favorite book of phase 2 so far because it does just what we were promised, right? So, yeah, overall, this thing is called the Battle of Jedha, but I don't believe the scale is where it really should be based on the hype of when that announcement came out, Star Wars Celebration. This was my most anticipated project for phase 2, and now that it's kind of come and gone, I just feel like I'm ambivalent toward it. Like, it was fine, right? And that's why I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10, because it just didn't wow me the ways I wanted it to. And I could also say maybe that's point being taken is because these characters are still too new. We're not really having an audio drama based off characters that we don't really know their voices yet, because we didn't get an audio drama for phase 1 until the last phase. So at that point, we already knew a lot of these characters like Skier and like Avar and, you know, of course, Lorna D, the title character. We already seen quite a bit of those characters, whereas now we're just getting just voices of really good voice actors, but it's hard to kind of put some things together, especially towards the end of the battle there. Certain characters almost, for me, sound sort of similar, so I didn't know who was really doing what at certain points, so it was a little bit jumbled together. So will I say you need to read this, or in this case, listen to this? You can read it actually in the script format, which is coming out next month in February. But as for right now, I would say it's not really recommended. I know this is going to be a big point in the history of all that, but I'm just a little bit let down right now. So what do you guys think of the High Republic's audio drama called The Battle of Jedha? Let me know in the comment section down below. For more on the High Republic, I have reviewed all of the other entries in phase 2 so far, as well as a lot more on phase 1. Go ahead and check that content out. That's gonna do it for me, Starrapter. Thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you always. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me, and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Starrapter.